Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 12th installment of the Soul Search webinar series. We will begin with an opening prayer and immediately followed by the national anthem. So may we call on our prayer leader, Brother Lito Pardo, Elder of BCBP Las Piñas. Brother Lito?
Greg, go on.
In view of the technical difficulty, I shall lead in the opening prayer, and after that, we will have our national anthem. Let's come before the Lord in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father in heaven, we thank you for this opportunity you've given us all to get together, to discuss, and to learn about an important event in our country's history, and that is the Halalan 2022, the national elections for next year. A lot is at stake, and a lot is to be learned this evening so that we, as responsible citizens, may exercise the right of suffrage, may exercise vigilance, may exercise our choice for what would be an important near and long-term future for the country. We ask, Lord, that you bless the proceedings, bless our speaker, the reactors, and everything and everybody watching so that they may find this evening to be fruitful and substantive. We pray and ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, telas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagagaktutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tula, kawin sa paglayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magtitindig. Luman ang araw ng walhagit pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang inigaya ng pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Halalan 2022, Is There Hope? Our webinar is the 12th installment of the Soul Search webinar series, and this series is co-presented by the Rotary Club of Makati Central, headed by Mr. Ed Garma. Also, co-presenting is the Public Policy Research Group, whose chairman is Attorney Joey Lina. It is a think tank composed of eminent personalities, including former legislators, cabinet secretaries and undersecretaries, sifting through various policy proposals and funneling the same through this Soul Search webinar series. Members include those who have already presented various policy-oriented webinars. This included about the West Philippine Sea by former Justice Antonio Carpio, Inclusive Economic Growth in the Countryside by former NEDA Director General Celito Habito, Learning from the Learning Crisis by former DepEd Secretary Brother Armin Luistro, Food for All by Feeding Farmers First by former Agriculture Secretary Leonie Montemayor. Number 5, LGUs, crucial in defeating the COVID-19 pandemic given by former Senator and former DILG Secretary Joey Lina. Number 6, modernizing the Philippine health system for universal health care, given by former Health Secretary Manuel Dairit. Climate-proofing our common home, given by former President of the Ateneo University, Father Jose Ramon Jet Villarin, Society of Jesus. Number 8, helping our poor during the pandemic and beyond, by former DSWD Secretary Dinky Soliman. Number 9, Internet for All, given by former Acting Secretary of the DICT, Eliseo Rio. Number 10, Workers in the Age of Fire and the Pandemic, given by former Labor Secretary Ruben Torres. And last week, we had Social Media Confronting the Fake News Trolls, given by Linda Humilia Abalos and Mr. Art Samaniego. Also, the co-presenter is Soul Philippines, a non-partisan civil society organization composed of parents who are business executives and professionals seeking to rekindle the soul of our nation towards our long-cherished values of makadiyos, makabansa, makatao, and makakalikasan. We are also supported by our strategic partners, the AIM Alumni Association Philippines, through its chairman Robert Manabat and vice chair Michael Sherwin Makatangay. The ICMA student chapter of the National College of Public Administration and Governance, headed by Ofelia Odilao Bisnar. The Rotary District 3830, headed by Governor Chacha Camacho. And the Indios Bravos Designs with Jerry and Sherbet Manalili. And of course, the Alcacid Total Entertainment and Artist Management Incorporated, or A-Team, in particular for our guest soprano, Miss Lara Maige. And at this point, we will be starting off with a special number, and we are glad that she's back from celebrating her recent birthday and also many other things that are happening. Let's welcome back for a special number our guest soprano, Miss Lara Maige. Lara?
Hi, good evening, everybody.
What will you be singing for us?
I will be singing Bridge Over Troubled Water for all of you tonight. And I know a lot of you know this song very well. And it's just perfect for tonight's topic. So I hope you enjoy. When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are Sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. If you ever need a friend, I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your Good evening, everybody.
Brava. Thank you, Lara. And of course, we will be getting another song from Lara this evening. And for your information, everybody, there's a raffle that's going to happen at the end of the webinar. 2 concert tickets will be raffled off. This is the concert of Lara, which will be held on June 25. Lara Maige, Queen of the Night, to be streamed on ktx.ph. To qualify to win, your name must be picked and you must be still in the webinar. All right? So thank you, Lara, and we'll hear a lot more from Lara, other new things from her as well in a little while after the presentation.
I'll see you later. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Lara. At this point, we now proceed to the webinar proper. It is my privilege to introduce the chairman of Soul Philippines and the chairman of the Public Policy Research Group, 2 of our co-presenters in this webinar series, former Senator of the Republic, former DILG Secretary, and former Governor of Laguna. Let's welcome Attorney Joey Lina.
Maraming salamat, Greg. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat, mga minamahal kong kababayan. Para sa isang magandang Pilipinas, kinakailangan ang partisipasyon or involvement ng lahat ng mga mamamayan. Subalit magiging makahulugan at epektibo ang partisipasyon ng bawat Pilipino sa paggawa ng desisyon na may kinalaman sa ating bansa. Kung alam natin ang mga issue na hinaharap ng bayan, ano-ano ang mga problema at ano-ano ang mga solusyon na dapat ilapat sa mga problema na ating hinaharap sa kasalukuyan at maaring sa kinabukasan. Kaya naman po itong Public Policy Research Group na sinabi na ni Greg na kinabibilangan ng mga dating sekretaryo, undersekretaryo, mga legislators at iba pang mga eksperto sa iba't ibang larangan ay nagkaisa na bumuo na isang grupo upang sa ganon ay makapagbalangkas o gumawa ng mga polisiya na imumungkahi sa sambayanan at sa ating pamahalaan upang sa ganon ang ating mga polisiya ay talagang angkop at ang mga programa ay talagang sagot sa mga problema ang ating dinaranas. Mula kahirapan, kawalan ng trabaho sa West Philippine Sea, ang paglaban natin sa pandemya, ang problema sa edukasyon na tinalakay na sa mga nakaraang webinars. Sa webinar na ito, pag-uusapan po natin at ang paksa nga ay #Halalan 2020 2022. Is there hope? Meron kagad nagsabi, of course there is hope. Yes, of course there is hope. Pero kinakailangan malaman natin kung ano ba ang proseso ng eleksyon, kung paano matitiyak natin na magiging honest, orderly, and even peaceful. Of course, it should be peaceful election. Kaya hope. Is there hope? Yes. Let me assure everyone that there is hope. Hope springs eternal. Mayroong mga problema, pero may mga solusyon. At para sa ganon, may lapat ng solusyon at makatulong ang sambayanan na maging matapat, mapayapa, maayos ang halalan. Kinakailangan malaman natin ang proseso. Alamin natin kung saan tayo pwedeng mag-participate o makialam. Kung kulang pa ang batas at kinakailangan pa ng mga rules and regulations ng COMELEC na dapat isulong ay marinig na sambayanan ang mga solusyon na ito at tumulong na mailabas ang mga kinakailangan rules and regulations to ensure that the election will be honest, orderly, and peaceful. Yan ang layunin natin sa webinar na ito at ang ating tagapagsalita ay si Dr. Nelson Celis. Medyo mahaba po yung aking introduction pero napakaganda ng credentials ng ating resource person sa webinar na ito. Si Dr. Celis graduated with a degree in Bachelor of Science in Electronics and Communications Engineering degree at Don Bosco Technical College. He finished his Masteral and Doctor of Business Administration at the De La Salle University. He has been a professorial lecturer of DLSU's Graduate School of Business and Graduate School of Computer Studies since 1990. Several of his research articles were already published in prestigious local and international journals. An electronics and communications engineer with 40 solid year experience in IT and management. He was awarded by the Institute of Electronics and Communications Engineers of the Philippines as the most outstanding electronics engineer in 2012. His expertise includes risk management, kasama na po yan, compliance with Data Privacy Act, European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, IT governance, corporate governance, strategic management, information security management system, business process management, systems audit, project management, business continuity management, and event management. Kaya sapul na sapul po yung kanyang background, sapul na sapul niya itong issue ng present election system at kung anong dapat gawin. He spent his early 10 years in the data center operations and information systems planning of a utility company, 10 years in the banking sector as chief information officer of an ATM consortium and a commercial bank. He later became a director of an international auditing firm doing information risk management services, chief operating officer of a group of companies, general manager of a technology company, and executive vice president of the pamantasan ng lungsod ng Maynila. He's also a regular columnist in the Manila Times, Let's Face It. As service to the nation, he was responsible for making our country Y2K bag-free. You remember this when we turned to 1999 to 2000, year 2000. Bag-free when he was the commissioner of the Presidential Commission on Y2K Compliance and president of the Philippine Computer Society in 1999. Napakahaba pa ng credentials, but I don't want to take much of your time. Hindi ko na babasahin yung iba at napakahaba. A Center for People Empowerment and Governance fellow, Dr. Celis is currently the spokesperson of the Automated Election System Watch, a coalition of almost 50 organizations that has been advocating for transparent, clean, honest, and secure elections since 2010. Ano nga ba? May pag-asa ba? Magiging malinis ba? Maayos at matapat ang halalan 2022. Ang atin pang boto ay mabibilang at ang mga mapipili natin na karapat-dapat na maging pinuno ng ating bayan, national man o local, ay yung ating ibinoto. Pakinggan po natin and let's give a big warm welcome to Dr. Nelson Celis, our webinar speaker.
Magandang gabi, Senator Joey Lina, sa ating mga kasamahan dito sa ating webinar. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Okay, let me share my PowerPoint slide. Share screen.
Wala pa.
Okay. Okay, thank you for waiting. So, halalan, #halalan 2022, is there hope? Let me jump to the conclusion. There is hope. There is hope. Let me just share with you yung aking experience when I was the commissioner of the Y2K Commission or the Presidential Commission on Y2K Compliance. Ganun lang ho kasimple ang aming ginawa sa buong Pilipinas, no? Yung 7 mission critical industries, no? Yung telecommunications, the banking industry, the healthcare system, and so many other industries. What we did then was to check all their activities, the check and balances, we audited, and we certified. That was the simplest thing that we did for the Y2K Commission. It's easier said than done, but it is doable. Katulad din ng halalan natin, ano, yung automated election system natin, since 2010, tayo po ay gumagamit ng automated election system. Yan ay napapaloob lamang sa pagko-comply, no? Kung ano-ano mga aktibidades, policy at anong batas. So kung nagawa natin yan nung year 1999 to 2000, kaya din dapat yan sa 2022. Okay, let me give you the agenda. Let me give you the background, the issues and concerns, alternatives to automated elections, alternatives, and then citizens' participation, and then the conclusion. Before the 2010 elections, we had the manual elections. There was the physical transport of ballot boxes, you know, from the precinct to the municipality, from the municipality to the provinces or to provincial board of canvassers, then to the national board of canvassers. Physical transport po yan. No? At during the manual elections, nakikita po natin yung pagbibilang ng Board of Election Inspectors. At dun sa Board of Canvassers, nakikita rin natin. Nakikita rin po natin ang pagtatransport ng mga balota, no? Magmula dun sa voting center papunta dun sa munisipyo. Kitang-kita po natin ang ating mga mata. Now, nung pagdating ng 2010, ng automated election system, ano na ang ginagamit natin dyan? Yung PCOS machine, ang naging vote counting machine, and then electronic transmission. So magmula sa presinto, yung election returns natin ay electronically transmitted sa KBP, sa citizens parties, sa municipal board of canvassers or sa munisipyo, and then dun sa COMELEC central server and the backup server. Ganon din sa ating munisipyo, papunta sa board of canvasser, electronically done din yan. Papunta rin dito sa 2 points na to, and then up to the last point, to the National Board of Canvassers. Ang problema lang ho natin dyan, hindi ho natin nakikita yung counting, canvassing, at saka yung transmission. Yan ho ang fact magmula ng 2010 hanggang 2019. Samantalang nung manual elections, kitang-kita natin ang botohan, kitang-kita natin paano tinatransport ang mga balota. Pero from the experience we had from 2010 to 2019, counting canvassing transmission, hindi po natin nakikita yan. So ang CENPEG or Center for People Empowerment in Government, nagkaroon ng report ito nung regarding the 2010 elections. Nag-release din ang CENPEG o kami ng libro, ng tawag namin dyan, Was Your Vote Counted? No, na-launch pa ito sa Ateneo de Manila. And then nagkaroon pa kami ng rally noong March 17 in front of COMELEC's office. No? Sinasabi namin na maraming problema ang ating PCOS machine na ginamit noong 2010. So kitang-kita naman natin dyan. Ano? Si Bishop Pabilio, si Professor Bobby Tuason, and the rest of the guys sa CENPEG and ISWATS. Ano ba yung ating uphill battle, no? Dito sa ating eleksyon? No? Issues and concerns. Number one dyan is non-compliances natin with the Automated Election System Law or Republic Act 8436 as amended by Republic Act 9367 in 2007. So like for example, ano ba yung non-compliance natin? Magmula nung na-enact ang RA 8436, specifically pointing to Section 37, the Commission shall promulgate rules and regulations for the enforcement of this law. So, more than 2 decades, wala pa ho tayong implementing rules and regulations. Ano ho ba itong IRR? Ito pong IRR ay supported dito sa Automated Election System Law na nagbibigay ng mga guidelines. So, ano yung mga procedures? Paano ba i-implement itong RA 8436 as amended by RA 9369. So until now, wala pa tayong nakikitang visible implementing rules. Ano? At meron kami nakausap na isang justice, Supreme Court Justice dati, in one of our meetings, at sinasabi niya, hindi po pwedeng walang implementing rules and regulations ang batas. Dahil yan ay prerequisite. Pagka ikaw ay nag-enact ng batas, meron kang implementing rules. Pero since 1997, wala po. So, second, unsecure communication channels. So, sinasabi dun sa batas, all electronic transmission by and among the AES components shall utilize secure communication channels. Pero natuklasan po na mayroong mga irregularities in 2016 elections. At sinasabi ko nga ng dating ex-Smartmatic official do sa Senate hearing, maraming mga findings na hindi naman dapat nangyayari during the 2016 elections. No? Ito ay nangyari nung Joint Congressional Oversight Committee ng Technical Working Group noong March of 2019. So ito rin ang naging basis ni Senate President Tito Soto, no, sa kanyang privileged speeches as basis for coming up with a hybrid election system bill noong July 2019 or Senate Bill number 7. So Soto's investigation on alleged fraud in the 2016 election was focused on early transmission. So maagang pagtatransmit ng election returns on the day before the elections on May 8 until the early morning of May 9. And then sudden utilization of undisclosed queuing servers on May 10 and 11. Establishment of 7 regional hubs of the COMELEC. So ito, hindi ito publicly known. Failure to electronically transmit 3.86% of election results, presenting at least 1.7 million votes. Ang sinasabi diyan sa Senate Bill 7, number 7, Section 8, counting of votes to be public. So ang Senate Bill or the Hybrid Election System Bill, manual elections, pero electronic ang transmission. So naipresent ko rin itong reform na kailangan natin sa eleksyon sa Consultative Committee on Federalism kay dating Chief Justice Puno. At ang naging summary ng discussion namin with the group or with the body, ang sinasabi doon, specifically ang sinasabi ni Father Aquino, ang proposal niya nga doon, in all elections, the appreciation of ballots and counting of votes by whatever manner shall be accessible and open to the public. So this is also in parallel on what Senator Soto was proposing then. So the success rate of transmitting the election returns in 2010 was 90%. So 5 million votes were not electronically transmitted at the time. In ARM elections in 2008, according to ANFREL, there were some problems with transmissions of data, particularly in Maguindanao, and it took the BIs and Smartmatic staff a long time to realize the failure. And then there was this Comelec incident few weeks before the 2016 election. Siguro natatandaan niyo ito, no? Nahack ang ating Comelec. And this is a manifestation at that time that communications channels of the Commission on Elections were unsecure. And then the National Privacy Commission in its 2016 resolution, ang sinasabi ng NPC, Bautista violated the Data Privacy Act of 2012 and they recommended to the Department of Justice the prosecution of Bautista and to investigate the unauthorized data transfer. So the NPC denied the motion in July 2017, and Bautista filed a petition for review sa Court of Appeals. And lately, March 2021, the Court of Appeals dismissed Bautista's petition without affirming or reversing the decision of the NPC. So naka-float po yung kaso na yan. At yan ay patunay lamang na very vulnerable, very unsecure yung ating sistema doon sa Commission on Elections, specifically on that 2016 hacking incident. So Comelec never secured the transmission from the precinct to municipalities up to the National Board of Canvassing in the past 4 national elections from 2010 to 2019. In fact, there were rogue PICOS machines that were able to transmit election results electronically, like in the Biliran case. And then authentication of the Board of Election Inspectors and Board of Canvassers through their digital signatures. This is also a non-compliance with the law. So that means this is referring to sections 22 and 25 or the absence of digital signatures. No? It's stipulated therein that the election returns, certificates of canvass transmitted electronically and digitally signed shall be considered as official election results and shall be used as the basis for the canvassing of votes and the proclamation of a winning candidate. So malinaw po yan na yung electronically transmitted and digitally signed shall be the basis for proclaiming the winning candidate. So in BP 881 or Omnibus Election Code, who signs or certified the election returns, it's the BEIs. Who digitally signs the ERs? It should be the BEIs. But what happened in the past is the machines or the vote counting machines or the PICOS machines did the digital signing. So how can you proclaim the winning candidates? Was it valid or not? Based on this particular stipulation of the law. And then in section 30, the manner of determining the authenticity and due execution of the certificate shall conform by appropriate authentication and certification procedures for electronic signatures as provided in Republic Act 8792 or the e-commerce law, as well as the rules promulgated by the Supreme Court pursuant thereto rules on electronic evidence. Napakalinaw po niyan na dapat lahat ng electronic transmissions at authentications ng BEIs and Board of Canvassers, dapat yan authenticated by complying with the e-commerce law or the Republic Act 8792. And then Section 5E of e-commerce law, ang sinasabi po dun sa definition ng electronic signature, ito ay distinctive mark, characteristic, or sound representing the identity of the person. Ang makina, wala pong identity yan. No? So electronic document and a methodology or procedures employed or adopted by a person. It should be the person. So in implementing rules and regulations ng e-commerce law, Section 6, ang sinasabi dito, the electronic key refers to a secret code which secure and defend sensitive information, and this shall be facilitated by using public key crypto systems or public key infrastructures. Ngayon po, meron na po tayong public key infrastructure systems under the management of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. We'll discuss further about that. And then there's a Supreme Court's rules on electronic evidence. Ang sinasabi nila, no, that this is released in July of 2001. No? At sinasabi po rito, electronic signature is a functional equivalent of the signature of a person. So authentication of electronic signatures and so on. So yan po ang sinasabi ng Supreme Court noong 2001. Yung e-commerce law po, that was enacted in 2000. That was 2 decades ago. And then there's an executive order number 810 in 2009 institutionalizing the certification scheme for digital signatures and directing the application of digital signatures in e-government services. So this was signed by former President Gloria Arroyo. So napakalinaw po, as early as 2009, before the 2010 elections, using automated election systems, meron ng directive to use digital signatures. Even the Department of Trade and Industry, they have prescribed rules and guidelines in the implementation of the Executive Order number 810. And then there was this hearing, Joint Congressional Oversight Hearing on August 6, 2015. Yusik Luis Casambre, the chairman of the COMELEC Advisory Council and head of the Information Communications Technology Office of the Department of Science and Technology, which is now called the DICT, said before Chairman Senator Coco Pimentel and Congressman Sarmiento, these were the chairman of the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee at that time. Actually, even in 2013, we have been working with COMELEC as far as the digital signatures are concerned. I think in 2013, we issued 200,000 digital signatures already. And yes, sir, the National Public Key Infrastructure is already operational. It's been rolled out across government, and of course, the COMELEC is more than welcome to use that. So that's the Memorandum Circular number 2014-001 signed by Casambre for all government agencies wanting to become a government registration authority. And this is referring to digital signing for government agencies. So matagal na po yan, no? And then the DICT in 20...
Brother Nelson, na-cut off ka. Audio.
You lost your sound. Yung sound lang.
Yung sound nawala. Wala. You're off. Yung audio.
Parang na-off.
We cannot hear you. Well, in the meantime, that the matter is being fixed. Brother Nelson, can you have your technician attend to it? To all the participants, based on the initial presentation by Dr. Nelson Celis, there are many gaps that have to be filled up. There are many questions that have to be answered. The problem has been pinpointed, but there seems to be no solution in sight. No, of course, his presentation is not yet over. I'm sure he will come up with concrete suggestions on how to address the problems that he had pointed out. So, okay.
Senator Lina, is this sound okay?
All right.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry for that. Yeah. Okay, if I may continue, no?
All right.
So,
from the
the-
time that you disappear, your voice disappeared from the time.
So,
Okay. So, the DICT released a department circular in 2017. So, amending the use of the public key infrastructure. And then in 2020, just last year, the guidelines on the application and issuance of PNPKI, digital certificate for external clients during the state of public health emergency, during the pandemic, no? So, so digital signing therefore needs public key infrastructure or crypto systems. No digital signing of ERs by ERs from 2010 to 2019. But Comelec argued that they had the I button in their PCOS BCM for digital signing. So Comelec is referring to the I button as the digital signing for the BEIs, but no PKI was used. So no digital signing of certificate of canvas by Board of Canvassers, same year, using their consolidation and canvassing system in their laptop computers. No PKI was used. And then PCOS BCMs have no voluntary act to perform digital signing. Besides, there's no law in the country that recognizes machine digital signatures. The e-commerce law, the Executive Order 810, and the succeeding memoranda of the ICT just shows that the digital signing or digital signature has been around for quite some time. So government agencies asked to use the digital signing facility for online transactions. This is from Newsbytes, September 5, 2020. So required na ng anti-red tape authority. But there's a latest update just last month. The BEIs to digitally sign election returns generated by vote counting machines in 2022. This was said by Comelec Commissioner Marlon Casquejo last month, May 2021, that this is to make sure what was being transmitted from the BCMs from the voting center are the election returns that will be transmitted also to the canvassing center. We wanted to implement this even in the 2016 and 2019 elections. However, the DICT was not yet capable of doing the digital signatures. I'm sorry to say that the PNPKI has been around since 2013. If the DICT is not available, if you go back to 2003, supposedly automated elections for 2004 elections, in 2003, the Commission on Elections have been already testing the digital signing. So in fact, the Comelec was trained by MySecureSign, a subsidiary company of PLDT, conducted a digital signing training for the Comelec people in 2003 at PLDT, Bonnie Avenue, as approved by former Commissioner Rex Bora in preparations for 2004 elections. Mr. Lawrence Hughes conducted the training for 1 week. So hindi pwedeng sabihin ng Commission on Elections na hindi nila alam ang digital signing. And it's a good thing that Commissioner Casquejo right now, or even the Commission on Elections, has already accepted the digital signing, no, using the public key infrastructure or the digital signing facilities of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. Pero ngayon lang umamin after 10 years. So, ito po ang course outline ng digital signing training ng COMELEC noong 2003. Ito pa nga yung example ng handout. So makikita dito, take note of the laboratory exercises in digital signing part. Meron pong laboratory practice or exercise na ginawa ang COMELEC. So COMELEC knew digital signing all along. Bakit hindi ito in-implement noong 2010, 13, 16, and 19? But sinasabi nga, is there hope? In 2022, mukhang gagamitin na nila. Pero nag-violate na sila ng batas. If I may go to the next topic, so we're done with the authentication of BAIs through digital signature, and then the non-generation of voters' receipt in 2010 and 2013.
Naman, we lost you again, Brother Nelson.
Sorry for that. So provision for voter verified for audit trail or voter receipt, that's stipulated in Section 6A. Buti na lang si Senator Dick Gordon nag-file ng petition na dapat merong voter's receipt ang 2016 election. So a few weeks before the presidential election in 2016, the Supreme Court ruled na, oy, COMELEC, maglagay kayo ng voter's receipt. Nasa batas yan. So nanalo po ang grupo po ng ni Senator Dick Gordon yung apela para dito. Disregarding the COMELEC Advisory Council, so 9369 Section 9.1 recommend the most appropriate, secure, applicable, and cost-effective technology to be applied in AES. Pero ang rekomendasyon po ng COMELEC Advisory Council was not to use the PICOS machines in 2013 and beyond. And then use ICTO or DICT's digital signing technology in 2013. Hindi rin ito sinunod ng COMELEC. And then COMELEC to study the 2013 terms of reference to give consideration to Philippine-developed technology. Hindi rin po nagawa yan. Ang sinabi pa ni Secretary Salalima, na gumamit tayo ng mixed technologies or election technologies in 2019 election. So that was based in the CAC Resolution 2017-001. Hindi rin po yan nangyari. And then, nandun sa 9.7, prepare and submit a written report which shall be submitted within 6 months from the date of the election to the Oversight Committee or Joint Congressional Oversight Committee evaluating the use of the AES. Ito po yung kanilang report, no, ng COMELEC Advisory Council. So hindi po yan sinunod ng ating komisyon. And then there's no source code reviews or limited access. In reality, there was there was no source code review in 2010 and 2013 and very limited access in source codes in 2016 and 2019. So nakalagay din po yan sa batas. Ano? Kailangan may source code review. And then JCOX, non-assessment. Ito po, medyo mabigat ito eh. Failure of the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee to submit any single assessment of the implemented AES systems to the Congress in session since 2010. Wala pong sinasubmit ang JCOC. Nakakalungkot po. No? This is mandated in Section 33 as stipulated to conduct comprehensive assessment and evaluation of performance of the different AES technologies implemented and shall make appropriate recommendations to Congress in session assembled. Hindi pa ho nangyayari yan since 2010. So related din sa Section 9, CAC to prepare and submit written report. So ang CAC, yung Advisory Council, sinasubmit sa JCOC. Ang JCOC naman, ini-evaluate at magre-recommend yan sa Congress in session. Wala pa hong nangyayaring ganyan. And then sa prohibited acts, nakalagay dito, utilizing without authorization, tampering, damaging, destroying, or stealing, interfering, impeding, absconding, gaining, causing access to, using, altering, destroying, or disclosing any computer data. Nangyari po yan sa Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, admitted that they were releasing the wrong senatorial count the night after 23 elections. Smartmatics, Barlow, and Garcia came to the picture by addressing the problem in the transparency server. Same scenario happened in 2016 elections when Garcia changed the character question mark in the enye of candidates. Like for example, Usmeña, pinalitan ng question mark to enye. So sinasabi nila, ano lang naman yan cosmetic changing lang yan. Hindi naman kailangan maging serious ano yan. Ano? Pero sinasabi ng COMELEC at that time, ay dapat yan, merong authorization. Hindi ka magpapalit-palit kung ano-ano dyan sa transparency server without any authorization or approval. And then there were undeclared regional hubs, queuing server use in 2016. Other issues. Illegal option to purchase of Smartmatic PCOS machine used in 2010 based on the opinion of the GPPB. Ang sinasabi ng GPPB, dapat nagkaroon ng bidding doon sa pagbili ng 2010 PCOS machines. And then there was this illegal direct contracting with Smartmatic for the refurbishment of PCOS machines based on the opinion of COMELEC's legal department. So violation also of the Republic Act 9184 or the procurement law. And one very serious event that had happened before. There was a legal battle between Smartmatic, and the actual owner of the PCOS technology, the Dominion voting system from Canada. And they revealed the following at the Court of Chancery in 23. Court of Chancery in Delaware. So number one, sinasabi ng Smartmatic, dun sa kanilang case, failing to deliver fully functional technology for use in 2010 Philippines national election. That's why the PCOS machines were not counting properly. That's my comment. Failing to provide timely technical support during and after the Philippine election. That's why defects were not resolved. And failing to place in escrow the required source code, hardware design, manufacturing information. That's why Smartmatic did not comply with the AA's law. So hinabla po ng Smartmatic ang Dominion. Ang may-ari ho talaga nung technology, nung PCOS technology. Ito po yung picture nung Court of Chancery, sa Delaware, State of Delaware. Smartmatic versus Dominion. Other issues, non-usage of form or write once, read many, secure digital cards. Ang ginagamit po kasi ng Commission on Elections, nasusulatan, ibig sabihin, kung sa palagay ko, naaalaman nyo kung ginagamit yung mga USB sticks, memory sticks, na ilalagay nyo yung inyong mga temporary files, ma-overwritten yun. Ganyan po yung mga ginamit ng COMELEC. Pero ngayon, ang sinasabi nga nila, ginagamit nila sa backup ay worm, no? Or worm technology. Pero mamaya discuss natin yan in details. And then there are other issues like altered election results due to digital lines in 2013. Cause of digital lines in 2013 was not known. And there was no final report. And there was this 60-30-10 phenomenon, no? 60% sa Liberal Party, 30% sa una, and 10% others. Hindi rin ho ito na-resolve. Sabi nga ni Brillantes dati, kanilang titignan to, pag-aaralan nila. Pero this wasn't resolved. Tatandaan ko pa si Brother Eddie Villanueva was 19th place from Apari to Hulo. Presence of multiple voter registrants, no? And then no acceptance test certifications of the machines, the canvassing consolidation system, and other related AES devices. And there was no penalty for non-compliance of the law. Non-compliance with the e-commerce law, procurement law, rules in electronic evidence, and EOA 10 of 2009. Wala naman naparusahan dito. So if you remember that in 2010, nagkaroon ng 60 PICOS machine that were seized in Antipolo, and it showed hash codes different from what was published by COMELEC. So this was the picture, you know, during the digital forensics. On the right was the final report of the joint forensics team, headed then by Attorney Albitancol, no? And the mysterious of work file server, the PPCRB in 2013. Paano nagkaroon ng work file server dun? Meron pang intermediary. Unresolved issue regarding non-stop printing of ballots in 2013. So alam mo ito ni Attorney Melchor Magdamo, yung dating right-hand person ni COMELEC Chairman Melo. So ito, unresolved din ito. So what are these? What are the alternatives to automated elections? Number one is hybrid election system. No? This was originally Senate Bill number 7 by Senator Tito Soto and Senator Villar. And then last year, it became Senate Bill 1950. That included already Senator Amy Marcos. No? And there are similar 7 bills for hybrid election system in the House of Representatives. But the recommendations of the Senate for 2022, no hybrid election system, just 4 pilot sites, 2 rural areas, and 2 urban cities. And they're saying that for 2025, let's go full-blown hybrid election system. Let's not use hybrid election system for presidential election system. Another alternative is manual elections. Remember in January 2004, Supreme Court directed the COMELEC to stop the implementation of automation based on its ruling on the petition of the Information Technology Foundation of the Philippines against the use of automated counting machines of Mega Pacific Consortium. So that was January of 2004. In 4 months, COMELEC reverted from automated to manual.
Yeah.
So we had manual elections in 4 months' time, 2004. So these are the alternatives. So is there hope? Of course, there's still hope. And what we can do is we can still appeal for either use of HES or manual elections as discussed. But since the Senate has already decided that only 4 areas will be piloted for the HES, so 2025 na ang ating HES. So what do we expect in 2022? It's really fully automated election system using Smartmatic. So how do we neutralize these issues and concerns that that had happened for the past four national and local elections? No? Number one is we have to organize, just like what we did in the Presidential Commission on Y2K compliance. We formed several teams with different functions, and they were all doing checks and balances on the procedures, audits, certifications. So in this regard, we can have an auditing team that can review compliance with the AES law and some related laws.
Brother Nelson,
Yes.
okay. We are already 40 minutes, and there are many questions already in the chat box. Can you just summarize this citizens' participation?
Yeah.
After all, this will, I'm sure, crop up during the question and answer.
Yes. So what I'm saying here is that we have to organize volunteers, citizens, to help us, monitor the implementation before, during, and after. That's the essence of the organization. Organization of volunteers. That's what the only difference with the Y2K compliance. The companies were managed by private firms, and some government agencies. So we had a monitoring center at the University of the Philippines. Kita nyo naman si Bishop Abilio there. Strictly focused for the compliance with the AES law. We need this, Let's baka although mahirap gawin siguro at the point of view ng Commission on Elections, but they have to promulgate the AES law because this is the Bible in implementing the law. And of course, in computerizing the election system. Like for example, for the secure communications channel, we need to fire up and fire down all the BCMs and electronic transmission to prevent yung mga early transmissions and post-election transmission. Acceptance test certification is very important. Use the digital signing facilities. Continue the use of voters' receipts, rigorous safekeeping procedures, and very strict chain of custody, including electoral protest procedures. Conduct public hearing regarding the function of the advisory council. Conduct public hearing on how to perform transparent source code review, acceptance test certification. For JCOC's function, we also need to conduct public hearing, review how JCOC should actually perform. Acceptance test certification of the systems. So COMELEC should not ignore the GPPB of the DBM. COMELEC to comply with the procurement law. JCOC and Advisory Council need to intervene in the procurement decisions of the COMELEC vis-a-vis all the AES-related concerns. Mukhang naiiwan ng COMELEC when, with regard to making decisions. Commission should use warm SD cards for primary and backup memory slots of the BCMs. Ang tinitignan lang nila is a warm SD card for the backup. And then for all the issues raised, dapat all of this should be raised and update the public. Perhaps the ICT can help in the conduct of digital forensics analysis in any event like COMELEC or any event in early transmission, post transmissions. Then continue to use the automated finger information system or APIS to clean the voters database, to COMELEC to articulate the no bio, no voto policy. Do you remember yung sinasabi ni ano dati, ni Chairman Bautista? This is based on biometrics law of 2012, 10367. Then collaborate with the DILG and Philippine Statistics Authority. Conduct public hearing on the penalty and possibly amend the law. So acceptance test certifications of the accredited citizens arms, yung operations nila, yung KBP. Let's have all this certified. So ORM SD cards, the laptops, the compact disc being used for the CCS or the canvassing consolidation system. Yung chain of custody ng mga SD cards sa compact disc, kailangan pag-aralan ng gusto ito, no? The election management server, the source code review, this should be the same as that used in the equipment. The central data server, disaster recovery center, dapat meron tayong contingency dyan or continuity plan. Field testing and mock elections, voters list generation, yung PCVL, posted computers voters list, election day computerized voters list, dapat yan tested and verified. Telecommunications aggregation, handling of electoral protest mechanism. Ito medyo mahina yung electoral protest natin. Kitang-kita naman natin yan in the past. Ano? Paano nangyayari yan? And there was no technology transfer since 2010. So umaasa lang tayo sa Smartmatic. Bakit gano'n? No? We should build our own capability within the COMELEC. And DICT may help, or otherwise DICT they can take over, so that in the future Filipinos can run our own elections, not by foreigners. And then we launched the Filipino IT for elections. No, this is was launched at the University of the Philippines in 2011. Gumamit naman tayo ng mga Filipino developed systems. Kaya-kaya naman natin yan kasi ginawa na rin ito ni Commissioner Gaslagman. Yung CCS, he only spent 600,000 do sa CCS compared to the 50 million worth of CCS ng Smartmatic. Ang layo. So this is the picture that we had with the President of the University of the Philippines, Brillantes, Gaslagman, and the others. And conclusion, there's hope in 2022. It's all about compliance. No? Yung sinasabi ko kanina, compliance with Y2K. Ganun din dito, no? Compliance with the provisions of the automated election system. Gusto ko lang sabihin dito na in the past, medyo may remiss ang Commission on Elections when coming up with a strategic plan. Hindi nila na-implement from 1990 to 2000, 2001 to 2010 and 2013. So makikita nyo dito, comparing this with the Bureau of Internal Revenue, lahat ng automation projects and e-commerce projects nila nakaplano ng husto at implemented. Pero dito kitang-kita naman natin sa COMELEC. Kaya kailangan bantayan natin itong Commission on Elections. So sabi nga ni Plato, one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Pope Benedict, a big part of the vocation of Christian lay people is their participation in politics in order to bring justice, honesty, and defense of true and authentic values and to contribute to the real human and spiritual good of society. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Greg,
Dr. Celis.
Greg?
Yes, Senator?
Yes, just to put everything in context, let's give a big round of applause to Dr. Nelson Celis for that very comprehensive presentation. We have two reactors, right? And you will introduce these two reactors who are coming from the ranks of the youth, which is now a feature of our webinar. We always have young people involved in the discussion of national issues. Very proper, very right, and very timely. Just to put everything in proper perspective, the Commission on Election is an independent commission. Para maliwanag kaagad, an independent commission, no? This is not under the office of the President. And although their appointment is approved by the Commission on Appointments. It's an independent commission like the Commission on Audit and the Commission on Civil Service. If they do not follow the law, they can only be removed by impeachment. So it should be clear. It should be clear. They can only be removed via impeachment. So if they are violating the law, as strongly pointed out by Nelson, then impeachment is the way to go. There is no way the president cannot boot them out of office. They can only be removed via impeachment. So it's an independent commission. It's the one in charge of the election. It should be stressed that way. So any action to make COMELEC work, either you go to Congress, pass legislation, or remove them via impeachment. All right. So I just wanted to put that in perspective, so that if any action needs to be done, then the action will be via Congress, both ways, via laws, passage of laws, or impeachment if they do not implement the law or even the Constitution. Culpable violation of the Constitution. Anyway, let's hear from the young people. I just wanted to put it in perspective so that we are not lost in the maze of many technicalities.
Okay, Senator, before that, we will give Dr. Celis some time to drink water and rest. We will have a breaker right now. So I'd like to call back our guest soprano, Lara Maige, for her number. Lara, what will you be singing for us?
So, Sir Greg, I just released a track on the digital platforms like Spotify, Apple Music. I released a very familiar French song entitled La Vie en Rose. I'm sure you know this one. So it's now available for streaming, but exclusively for SoulPH. I will sing a different version, something that is very, very Filipino because it will be in Tagalog.
Oh, okay.
I know you like this one. And I hope that this will encourage you to stay till the end of the webinar. And you might just win a a ticket to my concert happening on June 25 at 8 p.m. wherever you are in the world or in the Philippines, because I saw some of you are from Mindanao, from Visayas. So it's not just happening in Manila. You could be in the USA, and you can still watch my concert online. That's June 25 at 8 p.m. So
the whole family can watch, right?
The whole family can watch just one ticket, and you can watch in one big TV with wine or enjoy a concert that is about classical music, Broadway, and standards. But to encourage you to watch the concert, here is my version of La Vie en Rose.
Lara, before you sing, I think we should tell our audience that you have gone around several countries performing in several
Yes,
countries.
Senator.
So you're not just local, you're international, actually. International.
Thank you. Yes, pre-pandemic, Senator, I was in 10 countries. So in 1 year. So this song, I've sung in all those countries. This version of this song.
Siguro, maybe you can announce it. Log on to laramaige.com to find out more about the full Lara. That's laramaige.com.
Everything about Lara Maige, everybody, you can log on to www.laramaige.com. So, without further ado, I hope you like my version of La Vie en Rose, or in English, Life in Pink, but in Tagalog, it's Kulay Rosas. Nang ibigin mo ako, nagbago ang mundo. Ito'y nakulay rosas. Sa init ng iyong halik, yakap na mahigpit. Mundo'y nakulay rosas. Puso ko'y umawit, pag-ibig ang himig. Sa tuwing naririnig ang tinig mong katulad sa anghel na may timyas na tunay na dalangin. Dahil sa pag-ibig mo, ngayon ang buhay ko ay kulay rosas. Sa tuwing naririnig ang tinig mong katulad sa anghel na may tinyas na tunay na dalangin. Dahil sa pag-ibig mo, ngayon ang buhay ko ay
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Brava. That was world class. Pinoy version. So friends, what you want to do is to log on to ktx.ph. Okay, that's a site, ktx.ph. And you search for this poster, Lara Maige, Queen of the Night, June 25, and get your tickets there. If you don't win tonight, you can
Yes, if you don't win tonight, you
Yeah.
can also log on to laramaiga.com and you'll find the link to ktx.ph. So, para hindi na hindi na kailangan i-search. You just go to laramaiga.com. All the details are there. Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much, Lara. We will be watching. And we wish you the best. We pray for success of your concert. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much, Sir Greg. Thank you,
So
Saturday.
everybody, let's support Lara. O, tama-tama, birthday pa niya last week. O, parang birthday gift na.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now proceed back to our webinar proper, and it's time for the young people to come in and enrich the discussion. Our first reactor is the National President of the Samahan ng Kabataang Voluntaryo ng Pilipinas. She is a cum laude philosophy graduate of the University of Santo Tomas, and currently she is pursuing her Juris Doctor degree in the same university. Let's welcome our first reactor, RV Santos. RV?
Thank you so much po, Sir Atienza. So before I say my piece po, I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Nelson Celis po for giving us a very comprehensive and well-researched presentation po. So from what I've observed po, the value of an automated or hybrid election lies in its role as a mechanism for a more efficient, accurate, and cost-effective election management. However, since it is a product of technology, it cannot be denied that it is also susceptible to manipulation and fraud. So as we have learned from Dr. Celis and as we have observed from the previous elections, When we talk about automated election, our election officials, our government, and the public are properly and appropriately concerned about the many aspects of election administration, including security, accuracy, integrity, and compliance with state election laws. So the use of technology in Philippine elections has given rise to several issues, such as problems with the equipment, speculations on lack of transparency, or even cheating. And as mentioned by Dr. Salis earlier, there was also the non-compliance with the AES law, and even other controversies surrounding the qualifications of our candidates. However, despite these findings, we cannot deny that the Filipino people can still exercise, and we should exercise our right, our power over the future of our country through voting. So the state of our country is demoralizing. Yes, I cannot deny that. But should we be left paralyzed and surrender to these social ills? I think no. From the academe, or rather the academe, the policymakers, NGOs, private sectors, and most of all, the citizens should step up against these electoral and legal challenges. The potential of automated or hybrid elections need not threaten, but can rather expand our democratic processes like election. That is, if properly administered by the concerned individuals. So that's why, as citizens, we have to be proactive in holding them accountable or monitoring them if they are performing the functions expected of them. And that is what is repeatedly emphasized by Dr. Salis earlier. And again, to highlight, the realization of this potential requires a commitment to this path by us, the Filipino people. And taking this path will require, among other things, research, funding, educational efforts, campaigns, and even lobbying. So for me, I agree with Dr. Salis. I would like to say there is still hope, but it requires relentless efforts. There is still hope, but I am also not disregarding the fact that there are fellow Filipinos who no longer see the reason to have hope in a country so tolerant of corruption, mediocrity, neglect, and abuse. So if hope cannot awaken our senses as a people, maybe our natural inclination towards self-preservation could do just that. So more than hope, more than resilience, we as a people engage each other and we participate as communities like what we are doing right now. And we choose our leaders on the basis of survival because our people perfectly understand that no person can live on his or her own. And in these collective efforts like what we are doing, may we not forget the homeless and the deprived, the poor and hungry. The people at power may have the entire machinery at its disposal to distort and manipulate our ballots. Nandiyan na po talaga yung evil tendencies but they can never stop the deluge of dissent that will spring from the Filipino people. So after this day, after this webinar, should the forces of evil prevail over the country, do not lose hope. Let us build a stronger movement of vigilant and hopeful citizens on the broad alliances formed during the past few months and from the many communities and sectors reached and consolidated by our campaigns and by our initiatives. So again, I learned a lot of things from Dr. Salis' presentation, that hoping requires relentless efforts, and hoping also includes us educating ourselves and reaching out to the grassroots. Thank you so much, po.
Wow. Thank you very much, RV. Our hope quotient just jumped up 200%. So we would like now to call on our second reactor. He is a 2021 Global Team Leader of the We Are Family Foundation. He's the founder of the Youth Advocates for the Philippines, and he's the youth representative to the 2021 United Nations Youth Forum. Let's welcome Emmanuel Myrus Ponon. Myrus?
Hello, everyone. Good evening, Sir Greg, and to, of course, Miss RV, the organizers, Sir Joey, and Sir Nelson, who I'm delighted to meet today, because both of us, before I begin, are both Lasallians and Wisconians. A pleasant evening to all of you. Today, our discussion centered around the question of our hope for the 2022 elections. Is there still hope, especially at this time of pandemic, where, as RB said, that hope is being lost? In my perspective, and still strong firmly of this, there is hope and there is an opportunity to vote. And that is our hope. And that hope is together with the voters that are us. First, thank you to Sir Nelson again for giving us the flip side of the coin of this situation. As most youth advocates have been centered into empowering new voters for this 2022 elections. Yet today, we see another challenge, the challenge of the process of this entire system, the system of voting. And so, how do we manage all voters for the 2022 elections if there is a system that has been plagued over the past few years? Let me reiterate that in the past year alone, more than 7 million Filipinos went hungry and 3 million Filipinos were categorized into poverty all in the past year alone. Last February 21, statistics showed that the unemployment rate spiked as more than 4.2 Filipinos are now employed. The rising geopolitical tension combating this COVID-19 pandemic to achieve our herd community and overall well-being continues to be at the forefront of all of this. In less than a year, we citizens need to ensure that all stakeholders are able to conduct concrete actions for effective and efficient elections, to do these things right and to do the right things. All stakeholders need to be compliant indeed, as exemplified by Sir Nelson. In this case, we give light to COMELEC in solving these prevalent issues. Voting is the only right where everyone is equal, and those who fail to register lose by default on their right to be heard. Moreover, the power of one when protected, collected, and respected is the essence of this whole democracy. And so why are we going to let this democracy be broken? Personally, I have been part of these groups that are trying to engage voters, from the youth and to those who are to be re-voting again. We expect COMELEC and all key actors to do the same. Let us continue to ensure accountability and question to develop, but at the end, to the issues that have restricted us to where we should be in terms of our development. The 2022 elections is a window of hope to the future of a country rebuilding itself despite a global pandemic and its failures of the past. Do we let our history repeat itself? With this said, I hope that we challenge ourselves in these challenges, and to put simply, as I want to say evidently, to not just hope, but to reimagine hope as we see potential in these challenges. Once again, good evening, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Myrus. At this point, I'd like to call back our moderator, former Senator Joey Lina, to lead us into the roundtable discussion and the Q&A portion. So once a student leader before, still a leader now, let's welcome back Senator Lina.
Palakpakan natin si RV at saka si Myrus. Talaga namang nakapagbibigay sila ng pag-asa sa atin na bubuhayan na lalo na ako ng loob ng mga kabataan ay handa ring harapin ang mga hamon sa kasalukuyang panahon. Each generation has its own set of challenges, and it's the young people who basically respond to the challenges of their generation. So congratulations RB and Myrus. Nabigyan niyo kami ng malaking pag-asa. Kayo ang pag-asa. Is there hope? Yes. The hope really lies with the youth. Ngayon, Dr. Nelson Celis, sa iyong presentation, talagang nakapokus kung anumang pagbabago ang dapat gawin, either sa batas, pero yung AES, Automated Election System, will be here to stay and will be the one used in 2022, except that there will be pilot areas for the hybrid election system. Yung hybrid na yung botohan ay manual, ang bilangan ay manual at ang transmission ay electronic. Transmission to the municipal, city and provincial canvas up to the national canvas, no? Ngayon, yung mga deficiencies na nakita mo, sinabi mo, yung issues and concerns like unsecured communication channels, the lack of digital signatures, and source code, etc., etc. Pwede bang ilump ito together as COMELEC jurisdiction na kung malakas ang tinig ng sambayanan ay ang COMELEC talaga ay masabihan na gawin na yung IRR at doon sa IRR lahat ng mga problema na nakikita mo ay bigyan ng liwanag na may solusyon na gagawin sila. Hindi ba ganito ang isang malaking hakbang na dapat gawin ng mga mamamayan ngayon na gusto talagang honest, orderly at saka peaceful ang eleksyon?
Tama po yan, Senator Lina. Kailangan natin ang citizens, no, para mag-participate at mag-push nitong COMELEC na mag-comply. No? Lalong-lalo na doon sa mga nakikita nating mga deficiencies, no? Non-compliances and so on. Even the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee, that composed of senators and representatives, kailangan din po natin sila aside from the citizens.
But at the end of the day, Dr. Celis, at the end of the day, it's the COMELEC. This is the independent body.
Yes, it is the
Jacob
COMELEC.
can just recommend. The Senate committee can recommend. The House committee can recommend. At the end of the day, it is the independent commission, which is called the COMELEC, that will implement all of these reforms needed or to tweak whatever current regulations we have on election, ilagay nito sa IRR.
That's correct, Senator. That's very correct.
Oo. Ngayon, kung meron kayang 1 milyong katao, 2 milyong katao na talagang yuyugyugin ang Commission on Election at yung mga taong bayan na isusulat sa congressman, senador, ito ang gusto namin at impeach nyo na ang COMELEC officials.
Pwede po yun, Mr. Senator. Pwede po yan. Actually, hindi lang ho yan sa mga Senate hearings, sinasabi rin ho namin sa COMELEC, tutulungan namin kayong gumawa ng implementing rules and regulations. Sinabi ng SENPEG yan, NAMFREL, ISWATS. At sabi naman ni Bautista, ni Chairman Bautista, sige nga, tulungan nyo kami. Tulungan nyo kami. Pero, lip service. We were ready then to help. Kaya lang, we didn't get any call to meeting, by the Commission on Elections.
Pwede bang ilagay natin sa isang maliwanag na papel kung ano ito yung sinabi mo na issues and concerns, ano yung concrete proposal na natin?
Yes.
Na IRR mismo na
Correct.
i-incorporate na yung solusyon doon sa mga issues and concerns na binanggit mo. Para kwentas klaras, ito ang kahilingan ng sambayanan upang magkaroon talaga ng pag-asa sa 2022 election. Whoever is the choice of the people, national or local, let it be respected. But at least the process must be honest and transparent.
Tama po yun. Just to give you an example, noong 1996 and 1998, mayroong pilot test na ginawa ang Commission on Elections sa ARM elections. Ang ginawa ho ng Department of Science and Technology, gumawa ho sila ng guidelines and procedures on how to accept and test certify all the machines. Napakasimple ho ang ginawa ng DOST at that time, 1998. Yun ho, yan ay nakikita ng publiko paano ginagawa. At yan ay nate-televise din sa mga other channels. Pwedeng gawin kung may paraan, may kayang gawin.
Dr. Nelson Celis, nandito ang kinatawa ng mga kabataan. Kung magawa tayo ng simpleng pagpapaliwanag na ito yung dapat gawin para honest, orderly, and peaceful na election, pwede nilang discuss yan sa Facebook, sa kanilang eskwelahan, magkaroon sila ng Lasal Council of Volunteers for Honest, Orderly Election. At lahat ng student councils all over the country ay magkaroon ng manifesto or petition sa COMELEC na implement ito at lahat ng sectoral organizations ay magtulong-tulong kasi kung mahina ang boses, hindi pakikinggan. Pero kung malakas ang sigaw ng taong bayan, mayayanig ang Commission on Election, pati ng congressman at saka mga senador.
Tama po yan.
isulat nyo ng simple, two-pager, ito yung reforms na kailangan. Okay, kung sinabi ng Senado, 2025 na yung full hybrid election system, papayag na ba tayo doon? Hindi na natin ipipilit na 2022. Gawin na talagang hybrid election system. Total, ay, ngayon ay June, October ang filing, 4 months today. Pero ang eleksyon is on May 2022. Ilang mahabang panahon pa rin yan. Pwede ba yon?
Pwede ho yun, Senator. Pwede pa rin natin i-apply yung hybrid election system. Ngayon, kung talagang pinagpipilitan yung hybrid election system, isa pang alternatibo natin, yung manual. Kasi ginawa naman yan.
Yung manual, medyo malabo na yung manual. Yung hybrid ang mas maliwanag na alternatibo. Kasi gusto ng mga tao talaga makita yung bilangan ng boto sa presinto. Yun ang gusto ng tao. I think that's the prevailing view. So simplehan natin, nandiyan naman si RB at saka si Myros, maaaring ito na simula. Kayo mga kabataan, kami ay tagatulong.
Let's hear from
Anong tingin ninyo? Ayun na lang ang tanong ko kasi yung mga tanong dito talagang naghuhusga na sa Comelec, sa chat box Sa akin diretso na lang. Ano yung ating magagawa moving forward? Myros.
As emphasized po, first I'm actually part of Coalition 2022 Election 2022 coalition that aims to hit at least 7 million voters, and volunteering as part of our social responsibility enabling us to be active citizens is truly important, especially at this time of need. Although it is not a prerequisite, or it may not be mandated as of now, because as I know, there are a lot of students that are still having a hard time mentally throughout this online pandemic. We call on and pass this challenge on to the youth. I do love your point, Sir Joey, because you mentioned you as your generation supporting the youth of today. I still believe that the platforms given to the youth aren't enough. One of my biggest advocacies has been on youth empowerment. And one thing that I have noticed is that the past generation seems to not, in consensus, are still at this phase of passing the baton when it comes to giving the roles of leadership to the youth of today. Because looking at those that are in politics today, we see that majority of our politicians, unfortunately, are still those of the past. And so now that times are changing in this technocratic world, I believe that it's time to give light and to give significance to the youth that desperately want to right the wrongs and to ensure sustainability and urban and rural development for our country.
Well, okay, let's hear from RB before I drop the microphone. Hindi na ako sasali. I mean, let the others speak up. But RB, what is your reaction to what we have said?
Yes po, Attorney Lina. To be honest, we have held several voters education campaign in our respective schools. So whether DLSU, UST, we have our own campaigns. But for me, we should also start allotting more time for community organizing, because a significant chunk of the electorate comes from our sitio and purok communities, meaning the urban and the rural poor. So the number of registered voters in big schools, yes, is really low, and any initiative along the lines of voters education or empowerment will have little impact. However, while we recognize this fact, we can really blame the students for not participating in the registration process. So there's still a lot of work to be done on that part. However, we should also not neglect the marginalized communities, because some come from the poor provinces, and from experience as a voter and as someone who has already experienced community developments, all eyes are on the sitio and puro communities. Most of our active voters come from these areas. Voters based in privileged subdivisions and gated communities are the last priority almost all the time, because they really vote. Moreover, many election-related offenses and anomalies occur in the sitio and puro communities, like vote buying or selling, or hacked operations, and even intimidations or political killings. Hence, voters' education or empowerment needs to focus on these vulnerable communities. We really have to bring these forums, these educational campaigns down to those grassroots, not on privileged people that already have the access to education. So for me, we really have to join, we really have to bring these people with us.
Reality check. Pandemic is still very much around us, and much as we would like the virus to be out by next year, especially during election, I think reality check is it will still be with us, and that will be a hurdle. For many people, not only the old but also the young. I mean, people might not want to go out and really cast their ballot. However, you know, government is us, everyone. I mean, the young, the old. We are government. Unfortunately, reality is if there is no strong pressure from the people, changes will not be forthcoming, because the establishment is by its nature will cling to what is present with the present system. Reforms, because they challenge the establishment, reforms are difficult to come by unless there is a strong push for the reforms. And yes, the youth, and I was once a young person, talagang galit ako sa mga politiko. Ang mga politiko talaga nung araw, galit din ako. But we need more people, young people, to get into politics, because you have the purest of ideas, and you can infect others with your idealism. So let us not also make a generalization of politicians. No, there are many politicians that are also well-meaning. They want changes. They also share your dreams, and they're still there. But they also need to be inspired by you guys. If they see the big number of people really fighting for reforms, seriously fighting for reforms, and in big number, and modesty aside, during our time in the 70s, the youth was considered the conscience of the nation. All over the cities, in many cities, in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, we would stage massive rallies and demonstrations asking for the return of democracy and freedom in our country. We did our part during that time. That's the challenge. There was a lack of freedom and democracy because there was one-man rule, and that was the greatest challenge that we faced. Many of us got killed. Many of us disappeared without any trace. Until now, they have disappeared. So, but reality also is the youth is the biggest sector of society. They're the most idealistic, without any vested interest except a better future for them. So we will be supportive. We will be there. We were not giving up on our country. We will continue to fight with you, but we also need a strong representation from the ranks of the youth, because we are the passing era. We're the passing era. So anyway, Nonoy, I think you have the president of the Chamber of Commerce of the Philippine Islands, Nonoy Yulo, would like to share his thoughts and maybe ask us a question. Noy?
Unmute.
Please unmute, Noy. Unmute? Yeah.
Okay. Me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman. I just want to impart to everyone that I was once a very active member of NAMFREL, the National Movement for Free Elections. NAMFREL was the organization, voluntary organization, that was in place during martial law. I don't know if the young kids know the name. Have you heard of NAMFREL? RV, Myrus? No, not yet? Anyway, NAMFREL was a very huge organization, and I think it was very instrumental in enabling an honest elections during the Marcos, Cory Aquino era, that election time, okay? And what was very difficult for the volunteers was to understand the process and where are the error checkpoints where cheating can happen. It is simple to just say we need to have hope, but unless you know the system and you identify the checkpoints, you don't know where the cheating will happen. No, we are just fooling ourselves, wasting our time. No, okay. In many of our sessions, we had to go through the process one by one, and many of the items that was discussed in the election process, error or cheating checkpoints, most of them happen in the precinct where I was assigned, in Muntinlupa, Alabang. I'll give you an example. They said, when you will enter the precinct on election day, the goons will threaten you. Tatakutin kayo, bugbugin kayo, para wag kayong pumasok. It happened to two of my colleagues. They were bloodied all over to leave the precinct. Okay. Pangalawa, they said, maglalagay yan ng fake na balota. Hindi pa automation nun eh. It happened in the precinct where my friend was in. What happened? At 11 o'clock in the morning, they had machine guns firing in the air. And when everybody was running, the teachers put in fake ballots into the ballot boxes. That happened, you know. Now, the point I'm trying to drive at is, I think hope should identify where are the error or cheating checkpoints. So when you get volunteer, the volunteer will specifically volunteer for what checkpoint he wants to watch out for, not generic. Okay? From the process of making sure the right person is the one voting and walang double voting, no? That whole process, no? One by one yan. So if maybe, I don't know if I'm asking too much from our speaker, Shelish, or the new young ones, if you identify the process and say, saan pwedeng magdaya from registration to the actual voting, to every stage of the counting. From the precinct level, pagbilang niyan, tama yun na sa blackboard. Pero paglipat nila yung bilang doon sa election return na papel, ang pumipirma 3 tao lang, iba na ang laman ng election return about presinto. That will now go to the municipal level. Magpapalit na naman ng election return, iba na naman ang nakasulat. 3 lang o 5 tao lang ang pumipirma niyan. Then it will go to the governor provincial level. Lilipat na naman yan. Iba na naman ang resulta bago dumating sa Senado. So unless you understand the process, you are talking off your heads. No, madaling magsabing kailangan honest. Pero the work entailed is by checking the error or cheating checkpoints. Saan pwedeng mangyari? Ayan ang, yung IRR na yan na ginagawa nila. Dapat yan, ang title ng bawat section, anong dayang pwedeng gawin. For example, number 1, to ensure Filipino citizen ay nakarehistro. Ayan ang IRR number 1 mo. Anong babantayan mo? Pangalawa, to ensure yung nagrehistro, siya boboto. Yan, checkpoint number 2. Di ba? Paano mo ngayon i-ensure yan? One by one yan, you know? But you identify it by the cheating. Parang ano yan, parang criminal act yan eh. Thou shalt not steal. Diba? You identify the crime. Because sa haba ng proseso, people do not know saan hahanapin eh.
Maybe
that is the issue. Kaya dahil magulo, nakadaya. Okay. Now we go to the automated system. Ayan, we need the technological people. Saan pwedeng mangyari ang dayaan sa loob? No? So I'm suggesting maybe that Hope comes up with a cheating error checkpoint list, and then the volunteers would identify what area they want to be involved in and be an expert in that area. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, President Nonoy of CCPI. Dr. Nelson Celis, you gave a very comprehensive illustration of the automated election system and its deficiencies. But can you respond to Nonoy's comment?
Yeah, thank you very much, Senator Lina. I agree with President Nonoy. Figure out the weak links in the process. So in the automated election system, the weak links, number one is the memory card. Tinatawag na worm. Ang ginagamit kasi nila dati, SD cards, parang USB na ginagamit natin sa temporary files. Pero ang ginagamit nila ngayon, or backup, are worm SD cards. Pero hindi dapat ganoon eh. Ang dapat gamitin, parehong worm cards doon sa BCM para kung ano man yung binoto at na-process ng makina, hindi na mabubura. That's one weak link. Ano? And then second, yung digital signature. No? Pagka nag-transmit ka, yung bang magta-transmit, yung katulad sinabi ni President Nonoy, no? Yung bang botante, yung ba talaga yung bumoto o yung buboto, siya ba yung botante? So dito naman, yung ba magta-transmit, yung ba yung BEI na nagta-transmit? Baka naman rogue machine yung nagta-transmit. Kasi nga may mga early transmission before the elections. So doon kita mo na kagad meron ng problema eh. Bakit nagkakaroon ng early transmissions ng election returns? Eh wala pang election. That's another weak link. You know? So ang pwedeng gawin dyan, we coordinate closely with the telecommunications provider. Sasabihin natin sa kanila, pwede bang i-activate nyo lang yung mga SD card, yung mga SIM cards, yung mga for transmission on the day of the election, and then fire it down or put it down pagkatapos ng let's say after several hours. So yung mga ganun, that's another second weak link. Ano? The third, yung yung aggregation ng mga telecom, ito yung sinasabi nga ni ni President Nonoy, no? Mga technical aspect na to, yung aggregations ng mga election returns. Saan nanggagaling yan? Sino yung gumagawa niyan? So ito, medyo hindi naiintindihan ito ng publiko dahil ito ay kept secret. Ano? Kasi meron pa mga regional hubs na inilalagay na hindi naman publicly known. So ang pinakamagandang gawin dyan is talagang i-audit mo yung buong infrastructure ng election system. Katulad ng ginawa namin nung sa Y2K Commission, talagang in-audit namin yung mga 7 mission critical industries, especially the banks. So, inisa-isa namin yan. Ano? It's easier said than done na magiging yung two figures na kunwari 99, gagawin mong 1999. It's easier said than done, but the nitty-gritty of doing the checking and auditing and certifying that it is okay, ay naku po, madugo. Ganito rin mangyayari sa automated election system. Ano? Pag chine-check natin yung buong sistema, kailangan natin pag-aralan yung bawat proseso. Tapos i-audit natin and then certify. Yes, President Nonoy.
Just a follow-up, no? During the election of Marcos and Cory Aquino, I don't know if the young will remember, if you know this. Alam mo ba, walk out to mga computer, yung mga computer people na kinuha nila sa PICC. PICC was converted into a canvassing center. Puro computer yan, okay? Alam mo ba nag-walk out dyan yung mga computer na nag-i-input? Kasi nakita nila sa computer nila mismo kung anong figure na pinapasok nila, iba yung lumalabas. So nag-walk out yan. About 30 computer young kids like you, Myrus and RV, nag-walk out from the Philippine International Convention Center. Doon ang kumpisa na everybody started to believe na malaki ang dayaan. Okay? So doon, yung computers, bago pa lang sa Pilipinas yan. Pero doon, very crude yung kanilang ginawa. Kasi lumalabas sa monitor, anong pinasok pong number, iba yung lumalabas sa monitor. Ngayon, nasa loob ng computer. Nobody can see. So that is where the problem lies. We have to understand where inside the computer can the cheating happen. If we don't know this, we're all blind. We really don't know anything. We're just wasting our time. And imagine in the US, ang cheating na nangyari in the last election, no? That they're now auditing in Arizona, in Pennsylvania, and all those areas. No? I mean, nandun na yung technical guys, pero syempre, nandun yung technical, dun din ang dayang na malalim, na hindi mo mahuhuli, di ba? So I think that's the bottom line. No? Mahirap ang problema. Kaya tama yung titulo, is there hope? Yes, if we can come up with an error checkpoint. All the errors possible at mabantayan natin yan.
Precisely, Dr. Nelson, i-simplify natin yung ating parang the people's demand for honest, orderly, peaceful election. From registration, kulang ang registration natin. 7 million, di ba, Myrus and RV? I think 7 million people need to register. Only 2.5 million people have registered so far. Among the young people, 4 million mas the first-time registrants, but very few have registered. Last day of registration is September, is sometime in September. So we need to rally the people, especially the young, and those who did not vote for the last 2 elections. They must be encouraged. They must be identified and make them to register. I'm just setting an example, no? Registration is important. Hindi dayaan yun, but there's need for registration. Pero ang dayaan, yung the padding of voters registration. So there must be a way of checking also that the registry of voters is transparent, no? Walang ghost registrants. And then as we go along, pagpasok sa delisting the ghost voters, and then pagpasok na sa presinto, ano yung dapat gawin, ano yung check ng NAMPREL, ano yung check ng PPCRB, ano yung check ng political parties, allowed din silang present doon. So lahat ng A to Z na possible errors or checkpoints, sabi ni Nonoy, i-simplify natin para sa ganon, division of labor, yung mga sectors na sasama dito sa HOPE, alam ang gagawin. By the way, Nonoy, the palaban na organisasyon during in that time, Marcos Cory election, was the Operasyon Laban sa Mandaraya, which I headed. I organized it, no? So I'm familiar. Alam ko yung lansadera, alam ko yung bayaran, paano labanan 'yon, no? At pero iba ngayon.
Sa computer.
Wholesale fraud ngayon ang malaking kalaban natin. Wholesale fraud. Isang push ng button at mali yung input, ang output ganun, garbage in, garbage out. So ibang level ng labanan ngayon kaysa nung panahon na manual ang voting. But the suggestion is sound and clear. Ilista na natin kung ano yung mga checkpoints na yon, and then educate our people, especially the volunteers.
May NAMPREL dito. Maricor Mendoza.
Si Maricor Mendoza is from NAMPREL. I would like to make known our recommendations. Maricor, yes, Maricor. Maricor, are you there?
Hanapin nga niyo.
Maricor, yes, Maricor, there you are. We met, Maricor.
Unmute, please.
Can you unmute? Yeah, can you unmute? Okay.
Hi, Maricor.
Yeah. Hi. I'd like to tell Nonoy that NAMPREL has come up with recommendations on how to address to make it more transparent. We would have wanted a hybrid system, but there's no more time according to them, and they did not. So we're working within the limitations of the equipment that they have now. We have several recommendations for adopting standards, like make the software for the source code review, all the software that will be used in open source so that people can review the source code, really review, not like what we're doing now. We're just looking at the whole program, and you're not even allowed to test it. So if it's open source, then it will be made public. We also want we were recommending several standards that should be adopted instead of the comma separated values that they come out with, just the EML. Electronic machine language. So we were coming up with recommendations to the COMELEC Advisory Council, and the Department of ICT is recommending to COMELEC 3 of them. Okay, we had 5 recommendations. Also on the standard of the voting itself, the arrangement of candidates, make it numerical so it's easier to compute. Okay, people will, and also for the advance, campaigning, there's no advance because you don't know what your number will be. So we're saying that, let's say for president, there are 8 candidates, the numbers will only be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. For vice president, if there are 5 candidates, then it will be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so it's meaning to what we want to adopt is the number system. They're still studying that. Another standard that we want them to adopt is for the ERs and the VVPAT, because we want to use the recibos, which were not used, although we won in the Supreme Court. Okay, Senator Gordon won in having the recibos printed, but they did not make use of these recibos. Now we want to make use of that for random manual audit, or even just for audit, crowdsourcing it to the youth. Okay, getting a picture. So we want the recibos to have, let's say, a QR code, so it's easier to tally. Anybody can make the tally. Okay, so there are several standards that we are recommending to make it more transparent and palatable to the public, whatever is the result of the VCMs. Okay, so you're right, the problem is technical, so we're coming up with technical solutions.
Okay, thank you very much, Maricor. It's 9:32. As I said earlier, Maricor, all of this need COMELEC's
yes,
action, no? That's what I said earlier. All of these things are beautiful recommendations, but unless adopted and implemented by the Commission on Election, we will get nowhere. So you have to really apply a lot of pressure on the Commission on Election. But guarding outside, you know, fine. We will registration list and all that. Lansadera, hindi wala na lansadera, walang balota namang hawak-hawak yung tao, walang ganun, no? But there's a comment here. But from Bikram Singh, proper registration of voters, cross-checking of voters list, ensuring law and order on voting day by deploying the army, candidate agents deployed at booths for keeping an eye on inaccuracies and hijackings, agents to physically just verify, no, wala na yun. Hybrid will enable a cross-check. So, maraming recommendations, but at the end of the day, the Commission on Election will have to adopt them and recommend them. But that's the biggest citizens movement, only a strong citizens movement acting with Congress and pressuring, lobbying with the COMELEC. Okay? So there are other comments here, but Noy will give you the last, your last word on the matter so we can entertain the others.
Just a reaction to Maricar. Hi, Maricar. I'm glad to hear that you're with NAMFREL. What you're doing is really commendable, pero mahirap ang trabaho mo. I don't know within the computer system if we can just change our mind frame and think along the lines that we are the guys committing the cheating. And so we identify already from a defensive standpoint in the election process, pag computerized, saan pwedeng mandaya. We identified from beginning to end where cheating can happen. And then we come up with the standard defenses tapat nung where the cheating is possible. because this is where people cannot comprehend it. So within the system, from the time you put in your voting into the machine, all the way till the counting and the final, where is the cheating happening inside the machine? And how can we prevent that? I mean, this is a tall order. You need real technical people. But if we can't do this, walang mangyayari. The machine will just do what they want to do. Thank you, Maricar.
All right. So I think that's why there's need for a source code. I mean, it's the source code that tells you the script, right? So if you know the script, then you can follow what is the, and then if there is deviation from the script, then you know that there's something wrong. But we'll go back to basic. Yes, we have to identify all those causes or the ways of cheating. And it covers from counting to canvassing to transmission. I mean, basically, it will revolve around that. Okay? So let me just read some of the comments here. Unfortunately, my wife and I are sharing the computer, so I have to. Dapat very vocal now ang COMELEC to educate the voters. I think it's not only the voters. We have to help educate, especially as RB said, those who are outside of those who are in the laylayan, in the rural areas, those who are not well informed of what's going on in society. We need to reach out to them. The educated students, I think that will not be much of a problem. Although RB and Myrus, we still have to educate a lot of the students. No, there's still some of them are just unconcerned and uninvolved. No, and then
majority of the COMELEC are from
is it true that the majority of the members of COMELEC are from Mindanao, Nelson?
I think so.
and there are still 3 vacancies. So.
Okay. Well, we do not want to cast aspersion or make judgment, no?
Not
But,
really.
It was just pointed out here by Dexter. Consider the composition of COMELEC, who will man the 22 national elections. The remaining commissioners, Socorro Inting, Casquejo, Perolino, and Michael Peloton, all from Davao City. Is that correct? I don't know. It was just
from Mindanao, yes. So.
From Mindanao. All right, but whether they come from Mindanao or Ilocos or from my home province of Laguna, it doesn't really matter as long as they do what is right. No? Okay.
Agree.
All right. So maybe we can. It's 9:30. There's a groundswell of youth movements right now for a clean and honest government. Tap in on that. Wow, Virus and RB. Maybe you already have a coalition, but can you consolidate further the forces of the young so that once consolidated, the voice will be stronger? No? No. Noon ako talagang maki baka. Nung panahon namin maki baka. Ano? Sabi ni Ratio con Mina Fajardo Vergara served as IT specialist for the COMELEC in 1986 SNAP presidential election. One of 35 tabulators who walked out on February 9, 1986 to protest the apparent tampering of election results. The walkout began a string of events that eventually led to the People Power Revolution. Well, a good comment from Ray Shokon. If there's a will, there's a way. If a lot of people are become more patriotic and willing to lend their time and even sacrifice their own safety, as many did, no? In the 1986 election, 86 election, many died. I mean, fighting for their for a clean election, no? Nilabanan yung mga goons. Yes, in San Juan, I remember that. In San Juan, in Muntinlupa, in many places, nakibaka ang taong bayan. That's the kind of Greg was the SecGen Nonoy, secgen of NAMPREL during that time was Greg Atienza. Unless you don't know, si Greg was the secgen during the time, no? So, and as I said, ang counterpart ng NAMPREL, partisan kasi ito, Operasyon Laban sa Mandaraya. NAMPREL is non-partisan. Yung Operasyon Laban sa Mandaraya was partisan for not for a political party, but talagang lumaban.
Senator.
Nakipagbanggaan talaga. So, okay, wala na. So, Nelson,
Senator.
yeah, Greg.
You know, the political parties have to do their share of vigilance, from cleansing the voters list to watching every step of the process. Whatever process there be, fully automated, hybrid, of course, at that time, manual, each and every step of the way, there is supposed to be a check and balance. Ngayon, kung nagtutulog sa pansitan ng mga itong political party, then they are derelict in their duty of defending their own rights, no? And the whole process. So it all comes together. And what about Nelson? Ano na ginagawa ng mga citizen arm ngayon? They should be involved in negotiating with the COMELEC on the very same findings that you have. That nakakahiya. Ito yung mga finding, wala ba tayong kilos dyan? Is there not a way by which current citizens arms, whether they're accredited already or not,
they're doing something
for the
about
COMELEC to discuss these things? Mahiya naman sila. I'm talking about doing the duty. Kung citizen arm ka, gawin mo yung duty mo like we did before in NAMPREL. Eh ngayon, the old-timers like that, kailangan ba natin ulitin yan? So we might have to. I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anybody in particular, but the whole system works if people register and vote, they guard their vote. If the parties that are supposed to be watching like citizen watchdog, babantayan lahat yan, pati yung mga political party, babantayan nila. And the political parties themselves have to do their job in seeing to a fair, honest process all throughout. From the registration, voting, counting, canvassing, all throughout. Ang theory niyan, checks and balance. Kaya kung natutulog sa pansitan ng mga political party at yung watchdog, ay hirapan tayo.
All right. So,
very late.
we are past. Ang sarap ng usapan, and I think the people are listening, the audience are participating through the chat box, and we read most of them. So let's Dr. Nelson said this, I think, as a consensus, so that this webinar becomes really productive. Gawin na natin yung simple, in simple language, based on what Nonoy said and Maricor said, kung ano yung mga demands. Demands na. Hindi recommend. These are our demands. And we will reach out to the COMELEC. Maybe if we can organize 100 organizations, including the organizations of the youth, we'll file a petition sa COMELEC to hear us out. And we will
impeach.
Or impeach.
No. Senator, can there be a parallel legal remedy in term? We'll do that. The COMELEC petition.
Ang dami ng kaso sa Supreme Court. Nelson, can you tell us what happened?
Yung IRR, if we cannot firm up the rules of the game in the IRR.
Yeah, that's why I said COMELEC. Yes, I said that. I made it very clear. I was very emphatic that the ball game is still with COMELEC. If they do not adapt all of these good ideas, then nothing will come out. When you go to court, it's already remedial, and many of the cases are still undecided, or even they decided, they were not carried out. Okay, so that's the ball game, and that's the reality of it all. Unless the people demand that COMELEC introduce all of these recommendations or adopt these recommendations and implement them, we will be just talking hot air here. So let's make this webinar truly productive, no? So we have the youth; they're very active, but the adults will still have to be very active.
Yeah.
We have to work with our children. Ano? Okay? So, RB, maybe we can hear again from our reactors. RB?
I think kailangan mag-part 2 yung
Yes po. So I hope that by now some of us would already recognize the kind of power we possess with our right to vote. In voting, nobody chooses by herself. When I will vote this 2022, I will vote not just for myself but for Myros as well, for Attorney Dina, for Sir Atienza, and for everyone here. We would externalize most of the costs and benefits of our decisions, and it would be a big responsibility. So each vote counts, but if we would look at it from an individualistic standpoint alone, we would think that it doesn't count much. So we have to decide electoral outcomes together. And as Filipino citizens, we are basically one community. We are here now. We are one community driven by our mission and by our Catholic principles. And with these ideas as guidance, how we vote as a community, as a collective, definitely has an impact in electoral outcomes. So if you would ask me what our stakes are, it's our freedom, rights, and future. It's our democracy. And by now, we also know that we have a lot of challenges that we need to overcome. But we also witness in our Philippine history that freedom, democracy were never won without a fight. And I'm pretty sure Dr. Cerizal would attest to that. So let us continue fighting. Let us continue being vigilant and hopeful. Thank you po.
Of you, we really have high hopes, RB, for our young people. As Dr. Rizal said, the youth is the hope of our motherland. I believe it. It's a birthday of Dr. Rizal today, so I have to bring up that very beautiful expression of his. Myros.
Hello, sir, and hello again to everyone. As a development studies major, I've, in one way or another, have had this overview of the Philippines history, and we've seen the importance of a structural formation because we've been preventing structural transformation not only for on Comelec on how we vote, but in terms of our development. And there have been problems in the state, society, and economy. And so it's either status or decline, and it can't be like that. And that is where the youth's role enters the equation, because the status, this decline that has been thoroughly present in our history has led to the larger problem that involves the spoils-based political system, the poor distribution of political and economic power, and so on and so forth. And so fundamental issues in policymaking based on the decisions that were formed by leaders, not to generalize everyone, but to, again, to those that are accountable, to those that are responsible of where we are today, requires us and calls us citizens the challenge of advocating for a development-oriented structural reform, all in, all out. And I believe that can start through having a check and balance for this year's 2022, next year's 2022 elections. And so we've seen some decisions that have been piecemeal and unresponsive to the times, but again, a development-oriented structural reform is needed with the perfect or with the right kind of human agency present.
Thank you very much, Myros. The PPRG, Public Policy Research Group, has a 10-point agenda on exclusive growth and development. It requires structural changes. We will share with you this 10-point agenda being hammered out by the Public Policy Research Group. But you said it correctly, structural changes are needed to achieve inclusive growth. So thank you so much, mga kababayan. Hindi ko winawakasan ito pero kulang na yung panahon. But Dr. Nelson Celis, just a few words just to summarize some points in just 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Senator Lina. So, is there a hope? Yes, sa 2022 may hope pa rin tayo. It's a matter of, getting together all of us, no? And as you mentioned, call the attention of the Commission on Elections regarding this matter that we already discussed here. And it's all about compliance. No? Pagka nag-comply ka, checks and balances, nothing wrong. Nothing will happen wrong. That's it, Senator Lina. Thank you very much for having me in this webinar.
Thank you very much. Maraming salamat. Magbubuo tayo ng isang pambansang kilusan. Siguro pangunahan ng mga kabataan, kasama rin kami dyan, para sa isang malinis at maayos na halalan. Huwag natin sayangin itong oras na ating pinagsama. Magbunga nawa ito ng isang hope ng honest, orderly, and peaceful election. We thank you very much. We will call a separate meeting of leaders of organizations to agree on the common agenda to make sure we will have an honest, orderly, and peaceful election. Maraming salamat. Greg, take it away.
Okay. Sa katapusan, like we said, we will be having a raffle. So we'll jump right away there. We will dispense with the announcements, except to say that after the raffle, we will publish the QR code for the e-certificate of attendance for those that need, no? And for the QR code for the next webinar, which is exactly next week, on building beautiful cities and housing the poor. So this is another important issue. So that comes after the raffle. So may we ask the Zoom team, John, to roll out the roulette, and we will choose the two winners who still have to be here. So those that registered, your names, ayan, no, are part of the raffle. And if your name comes out here, your number, if you are here, then you will win a ticket. We will email to you your ticket. 32. Let's roll some more. Maybe 4 pa habang hinahanap natin kung nandito pa yung mga raffle winners. No? You have to be here. $32, $43, go ahead. 2 more para sigurado. $216. Si 32 nandito ba? See, what will happen is number 32, they will look at the registry and find out if you're still here. 181. So let's check. Kung si 32 nandito. Okay, we're checking the names and if they're present. Sayang naman. This is a wonderful concert ticket, June 25 at 8 p.m. So you can stream it with your entire family. $216, Noralia Kabugatan is present. Congratulations, Noralia. Ibig sabihin, si 32 tsaka 43, wala. Okay?
Sir, we'll be spinning grupo dalawa pong beses pa po.
Sige ba? Wala si 81, 181.
Okay. Isa pa. Kasama po kami ni 32 ngayon.
138. Couple more. You know, while it's spinning, we would like to thank everybody for hanging out with us. It is to your credit and to your benefit because the discussions were so substantive and something good will come out of it. Okay, nandito ba yung mga winner? Sino ba? Si 181? Ganun.
$32 daw is present. Sino ba siya? Paano nila na lang?
Okay.
Greg. John.
Okay, so sa July 4, Greg, what's the next webinar? The webinar on July 3 or 4?
No. It's next week.
Yes, but we will announce it already.
Ito, this is beautiful and orderly cities with
Yeah,
housing
you
for the
announced
poor.
it already. After that will be?
After that will be July 3 on competencies and qualifications of elective leaders. So it's not only good that we know about the rules, no, but we have to appreciate what it takes for a leader to be qualified for a certain position, like president. What does it take? Vice president. And swerte na lang tayo. We have none other than Senator Lina to share with us on that regard. So this is part of our voter education. The young people here would do well to attend this webinar on July 3. July 3 yan.
Okay na yun.
Meron na ba tayong winner?
We've had one. Yung isa pa, John?
We'll have to spin one more po, sir.
Go ahead, sige. Sayang naman. Napaaga ang alis nila, sayang. In the meantime, okay. Sana may tumama na. So far, we have one winner still around. And we shall send you by email as early as tomorrow. You can expect an email from me to award you your concert ticket. Ito, si 216 Noreala Kabugatan. Okay. Jan? In the meantime, ito, scan na nyo itong QR code dito to register for the next week's webinar.
Well, architect John Palafox is a world famous urban planner. He has been invited to plan cities all over the world, like in the Middle East, even in Europe. In Asia, he has been invited to plan cities. So the topic is beautiful and orderly cities, but with housing for the poor. Cannot be, cities will not be beautiful if they're only for those who can afford. The cities must welcome also the poor within its territory. Do we have the winner already, Greg?
Number 32 po, sir. He's already.
Ito. Anthony Noblesa.
Kanina pa. Oo.
Kanina pa yun
Ayun. First winner is 30. Oh, okay. He's here. I saw him, Anthony. Okay.
Dalawa na yan.
Congratulations, Anthony Noblesa and Noriala Kabugatan.
All right. Palakpak. Oh.
Thank you very much. We will send you the email of your prize. It's a link. You merely click on the link so you can participate in the concert on June 25. Well, that wraps up our evening. So here is the QR code for the registration for next webinar.
Closing
It's going to be another substantive evening. And we also have another QR code for e-certificates, which are requested by especially the young people.
Okay.
Okay.
Greg, can we have Lito already?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For the closing prayer, may I call on Brother Lito Pardo? Please unmute, Brother Lito.
Let's close this very productive evening with a short prayer. Lord, we thank you for the wealth of intergenerational insights, information, messages, and aspirations. Lord, we got so much from tonight's webinar. Thank you. Imbue with us, Lord, and create in us a vigilant spirit that will truly safeguard the sanctity of our electoral process. May we be able to plug the loopholes identified by enabling us to volunteer, to actively participate in this noble undertaking. And lastly, Lord, we implore you, we pray that you send to us our youth, that they be engaged in this undertaking, as you also sent to us true servant leaders who will put the greater good of the greater majority, especially the poor, the marginalized, and the vulnerable, above any personal or group interest. Servant leaders who will seek office to serve and not to be served. Servant leaders of integrity and compassion. All this, Lord, we ask in prayer in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Brother Lito, and maraming salamat mga kababayan. Ipagpatuloy ang education natin sa pamamagitan nitong mga webinar, handog ng SoulPH, PPRG, at ng Rotary Club Makati Central. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay po tayong lahat. And happy birthday, Dr. Rizal.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Attorney Lina. Thank you, Dr. Celis.